The Wellness Show, Episode 72.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Welcome to the Wellness Show, and on the call today I have Mellissa Rempfer, who has a very exciting past that I'm looking forward to her telling us all about. So one of the things that really got my attention is the ability to raise a vast amount of funds in a short period of time at a very young age. So I do want to know more about that. So Mellissa, take it away. Tell us about this.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Show up.
I love that, because that's exactly what it is how did you show up? And that's so true. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you everyone who is here with us right now. And it's been a journey, and if anybody who's done any work in their developmental work, as well as like trying to build a business or just in life, there's a journey. And that's really kind of what happened with me. I'm a big believer in being authentic, because when you're not authentic, the good stuff and the challenging stuff doesn't always show up. So I'm just going to be real with everybody. I was homeless in high school, so I barely graduated high school, and I failed an enormous number of classes, and I actually wasn't planning on going to college. And it was one of those things where I found out about some government funding for me to go to school here in California. And I went to school, and I got involved with a club, and then one thing led to another, and I got elected student body president. Okay, secret to be told, I'm actually a really shy person, and people don't always know that about me. They think I'm really outgoing and friendly, but I'm actually a big introvert. But I saw that there was a lot of needs going on to the campus, and they were going to be expanding. And so I was like, well, wait, what do you do when it rains? There's nowhere to go for the students because you don't have a student center. And I was given this invitation, and almost like a challenge from another person who worked on the campus, and someone, so what would you do? How would you handle this? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, if you see a problem and you don't do anything about it, you are part of the problem. You can choose to ignore it or to take action. And what would you like to do about this? And I pondered that for a little bit, and then it was actually through a sense of understanding what was available, understanding and building relationships with people, and getting out of my comfort zone. Like, here we have a need, I hear there's an option, and it was completely grassroots. Like, I would write messages on you'd go to the bathroom stalls and you close the door and there would be a sign talking about this. And one thing led to another, and we ended up getting a $9.8 million building built for the college. And I wasn't even 21. And so it's been little things like that. That's been how I've learned to show up and how I've become who I am. And in turn, now I own 2 companies, and I travel all over the world, and I get to have amazing conversations with people like you and with other people. It's like who you are and your brilliance is just waiting to show up, yet we get in our own ways and we limit ourselves.
So would you say your motivation is that, at that age, it was a challenge to reach something greater than yourself? You felt motivated to a calling that's greater than yourself. It seems to me that that's been your driving force all the way through your life, why you've started the companies that you have and why you've shown up. It's almost like you can't help yourself. Is that correct?
There's a big ego drive in there. I will say that. About 8 years ago, I was introduced to a developmental system called the Enneagram, which deals with 9 different energy or personality types. Mm-hmm. And one of the things for me, I found out my main type is I'm an achiever. That makes sense. I set goals and I rise up to them. But my secondary one, or what they call as a wing, is a helper. And so I have to be careful, because I can help so much that I actually hurt myself. It's like the person, they always say, if you're in a plane, you put your mask on first before you put on someone else.
Right.
But you can't give from an empty cup. And I was finding for myself that if I got so caught up in my own way of competition, look at me, and being really ego thing, I was actually being very blinded to seeing what was going on with other people around me. And that's actually part of my shadow and growth edge for my personality type. So, I was very fortunate when I was younger that actually had people who did developmental work, who invested in me, who helped me see I didn't even realize I was falling into. And so that was really what led to me going, wait, if I continue along this path, I'm actually being very destructive. And I'm not very true to my own essence qualities and my own pure essence self. And so that was where a lot of my inner developmental work that I would start doing that became practices for me would help me start to realize when you do these things, it's like you're spiraling down into some very destructive behaviors.
Right.
But you don't have to. And so that's really what triggered for me to really go, I can go this way, or I can be present with what's going on, and I can move forward and actually come from a place of service to others. And that's what led to things.
I mean, that has been an ongoing struggle from you. I mean, I'm not, from the outside looking in, it's part of your tribe. And, it shows up in your life that you can really have health issues if you don't really do this balance in your life, and serious health issues. So, I mean, you've set it up in your life path that this balance is really critical or tantamount to who you are. And excitingly, it's also what you deliver to your tribe, is to help them with this balance, that we can't do this on our own. This is really a collective endeavor, and that we're here for each other to catch us when we forget that we need to take care of ourselves, and it's through service to others that we really get to benefit. That's a huge one that most people don't understand, particularly in this competitive world we live in. So is that because you've felt the consequences, like you say, of not bringing this balance about in your life? Or was there other motivators that got you creating this tribe? And tell us about that, your tribe too, please.
Well, that's actually really interesting, because I never made the connection to, you just mentioned that about my health, but it was my health that actually led to all this. So I have lupus. So I have an autoimmune disease that attacks my joints, kidneys, heart, brain, pick an organ. It has civil war. And I was very, very successful. I raised millions of dollars for the American Cancer Society. All of my events got national awards. I was traveling all over the state of California, training other people on how to do these things. And then my body just said, done, shutting down. You're working too much. And I did. I was a workaholic.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. And it was because I was driven for that recognition of, look at Mellissa, look what she can do. She's a superstar here.
Yeah.
There was a sense of validation for me. And when I actually went out on medical leave, I couldn't quit a job because I've never quit a job before. And I ended up being let go because I was on medical leave so long. And it was like, who am I? And I just had this massive identity crisis. And I was like, okay, I was told by a counselor who I was working with, she's like, why don't you check into coaching? I'm like, okay, sure. And so I'm like, I like this. She has her own office. She has her own flexible, everything about it, which actually is not like an entrepreneur, appealed to me. But what I didn't know at the time is I just wanted to be wanted by somebody else. And so when I finished my coaching program, I was like, somebody please hire me. Somebody want me.
Yes.
And so my awareness of the striving force of that help side that I have, I would overdo it so someone would acknowledge me, actually became detrimental, because I was working so hard. I was spinning my wheels. And in this case, I was like, I'm going to be a coach. That's my calling, my passion. What I didn't understand is I was trying to build a business by myself. And it's like the image where there's a person juggling. They have like 8 arms trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I was. I was getting burnt out. So I was like, okay, I have to learn webinars. I have to learn speaking. I have to learn the technology to build a website. I have to learn enrollment conversations. Oh, but I really want to coach, but I had this whole business marketing practicality side. And so I was doing everything instead of being really good at my own area of brilliance, which in my own case was bringing a group of people together to work as a collaboration and to work as a unit to support each other. That was what actually occurred to me when the reason why the success was so profound when I was in high school or in college is because as much as I want to say, hey, look at Mellissa and what she did to build the student center, if you actually take a step back, it was because I had an amazing team of other students who all did the work. And so as much as I want to say, yeah, I'll take ownership that I was a catalyst to it, and that's my area of brilliance. But it was working as a collective, and that's what's actually has been what's led to this collaborative community that you know of and you're part of called Brilliance and Business. And it's people from all over the world who are all business owners. So we have coaches on every form of coaches on one side to all the business development people on the other side. You know, if you want to get your book published, or if you want to do a podcast, or you want trademark laws, whatever it may be. But we literally all come together to support each other, lift up each other's businesses. And that was kind of how it all came together.
You know, I like what you're talking about, which is the struggle of somebody like you and even myself, is that this born leadership quality to succeed, that drive really, which comes from wanting to be recognized, which sometimes gets all caught up in the ego, like you say. But it's our leadership ability that allows us to bring a tribe together to support us. And it's really the tribe that brings about like the success, like you said. We're just the leaders of that. So I know there's others that are stepping in this. So how do you manage the ego part of this? How do you do this aha inside of yourself when you get close to that boundary, and you know that, because you know the consequences of that, you know the downward spiral. I mean, we've been there. I've done the burnout. It's not pretty. It's really quite ugly. So how do you do?
So for me, that great question. Absolutely great question. So one of the things for me is, it's funny. I struggle with even calling myself a leader, because if I call myself a leader, I'm catching myself of like, oh, look at you, Mellissa, you're the leader of this group. Aha. So I've become aware of what are some of the little things that like rev me up. It's like, ha, you know. And so calling myself a leader, and so I've been using the word facilitator, and I actually have a little image I have inside my office where instead of like most organizations or most communities or tribes, it's like a hierarchy. I specifically didn't want this community to be a hierarchy, because if I'm on top, then of course my ego's all like, look at you, Mellissa, you are great and all powerful. Yeah. So what I do is I actually look at it like a horizontal. And so each of us are on our own journeys on this path of building our business as well as personal development. I may be here. Well, you may be farther along in an area that I haven't even thought of. And so you are actually ahead of me. And so instead of coming from a place of competition, I had, like I said, I had this drawing where it's this line of, and I think of it almost like a trail where people are all pulling each other along. Right. So if someone's walking along this path, and so let's say it's an area of webinars, and it's like, hey, I made this mistake, I learned here. So in my mind, it's almost like they're putting a little marker saying, don't make this mistake, and pass the information along to the next person. And so then as each person goes along, by the time you finally get to that spot, you know, maybe you are 5 people deep from doing a webinar, and it's like, wait, now there's this trail all the way around it with an arrow pointing to it, and there's a little marker saying, don't, you know, such and such stumbled here, but now they're doing this great stuff. And so I set it up that way where we're all experts in our own area of expertise, and it's not one person, it's all of us. And if I disregard a person and their own expertise, then I'm actually elevating myself. And so I have to conscious myself of wait, how am I making myself better than another person? Because I haven't walked that person's life, I haven't been in their shoes, I haven't had their life experience or their training. They know more in this area than I do. Mellissa, shut up and listen. I can learn something from them.
I like that. So you're really developing a co-creative model, right? or a leaderless model, or leaders emerge when, when you have the ability to lead in that area because of your expertise. I love the
Exactly.
fact that you've also been able to wrestle through the dilemma, which was the other part of this, which is, oh my God, I'm leading again. I'm the leader. My ego's kicking in. So now I'm going to avoid doing this, right? I don't want to put myself into any leadership opportunity because I might, get overwhelmed and go down the tube one more time. I don't see that in your approach. It seems like you've found that balance where you're not really holding back anymore. You see the leadership challenge, but you're channeling in a co-creative way, helping other people step into that energy that you hold as a leader as well. So I would almost say that you're training other leaders to how to show up and be leaders. I think that's pretty exciting. I never thought of that before. That's another level of co-creation, So do you bring the tribe together? Have you had an opportunity to bring them together in person? I know that there's certainly a lot of going on directly in the Facebook group, and I encourage anybody who's listening to this as an entrepreneur or solopreneur, please join your group. It really, truly is, in the name, it is brilliant, right? So I do think you have events that you have bring people together too, right?
We do. And I actually, what you were talking about ties in perfectly, because it started out really as an online community. And there was a woman who was back in Texas, California, or Texas, United States. And I bring up United States because we're international. Obviously, we have people all over the world now join this community. We've only been around a year and a half. We haven't been around that long. And it's been really interesting of somebody else may have an insight. Oh, hey, what about this? And that's why I go back where I'm more of a facilitator and a host, because I listen to those people and go, oh, wait, how can we incorporate this? And so in this case, there was a woman who was back in Texas and says, Mellissa, I would love for a couple of things. I would love for more speaking engagements. And if there was a way where I can go from place to place and speak, that would be great. But I would also love just to meet in person. She's like, she was kind of mentioned, like, it's nice to also have that in-person interaction besides just stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led to us having what we call our chapters, and we use meetup.com as our platform. And we get together in a local community. And so that local community, we have a host in that community. So it's tailored to what the people in that community like. And we meet in person that way. Anybody who's a member of our community can be a speaker at any of our chapters. And we have 17 chapters now around the world. And it wasn't even just, here was an opportunity for this person to go speak at any of the chapters. It was an in-person chance where people can network. The speaker actually got a chance to make an ask, because a lot of places don't let you make an ask anymore. So you can say, I'm doing this. If you would like to be involved with me, let's talk, or whatever it may be. But also a chance to have like a mini workshop where you get a chance to be educated from the expert. And then what we did is I wanted to take it a step further, because I liked what she shared. But to me, that sense of people, purpose, and passion had to be included, not just a place to network and connect.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we ended up doing is every one of our chapters partners with a local nonprofit or charity, or up to 5 in that area. And so if that charity says, hey, do you have somebody in your community who could who can create a flyer, because we don't have anybody who's got graphic, computer, creative skills, and we want to do a fundraiser. So they would go back to the local hub or the local chapter. And if the chapter didn't have anybody, then we'd go back to the entire global community saying, hey, who could help out here? So it's not just helping the individual business owner or solopreneur or coach. It's helping their business, their clients, but also the local communities that we're all connected to, and that ripple effect. So it doesn't just end there.
So the basic principle behind all this and why it's succeeding is that you've learned a concept of service. And, when you serve others in the way that you are, then literally magic happens, because guess what? As you give, so shall you receive. So that's pretty exciting. So in our community, we have something similar. We call it Cresters, and where we do have people that come and do a presentation, and they can do an ask or lead into a workshop. And I love that ability to bring people into a local community to bring new ideas, new creativity. and link it into the nonprofits. I think that's really
Yeah.
exciting. So you have some chapters in the U.S. Do you have any in Canada now?
We're in the process of starting up 3. So they're actually in the works. And I have to look at my notes because I know Alberta because that's where I got married to. But I mean, the other areas I'm not aware of, and I know we just had the paperwork filled out last week. So they'll probably be going in the next month and a half.
Good. Great. And where else do you have it in the world?
Got 1 in London, got 3 here in California, got 1 in Philadelphia, got 2 in Florida, and 1 in Texas. I'm mentally scanning around.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking you is they were now podcast syndicated out of Philadelphia, and we're in 15 different countries now. So this is a great opportunity to let people know that if this excites you and you want to create a local chapter, are you calling them chapters? What are you calling them?
We're calling them chapters. Chapters or hubs, but yeah, they're chapters work.
Yeah, hub. Then this is the lady to get hold of, and let's grow the community worldwide. So, when we help each other, we all succeed. So that's really exciting. So how many are in the Facebook group, or how many are in your tribe now? Do you have any idea?
Right now, we're just under 370. I think we're 376 because I was just looking the other day. And so we've been like 374, 375, but I think we just bumped to 376. And we're actually on target to have 500 by the end of the year. And people have been saying, well, why is this so small? Well, it's actually been small because it's been by word of mouth. It hasn't been like, oh, here, I'm going to outwardly go out and look for people, which is actually my growth edge, because it's funny, for as present as I can be, my shadow or growth edge is actually going, hey, look at this idea, because a part of me was actually really, I didn't know if people would really buy into this concept of working collaboratively and working together. And so I actually found I became very shy and hesitant and withdrawn about this. And so it's just been now recently where I've been outwardly talking about it.
Right.
But the people who have been in it have been people like yourself or somebody else who said, wait, this is interesting. Let me go check this out. There's a group of people who really got my back and want to see me be successful in my business, which is really how we are. So like your area of brilliance is actually somebody's area of like weakness, or they don't want to do it, or they're not even aware of it. And it's almost like this puzzle pieces. If we all like come together and we all do our thing, then we can lift all of each other up and all of our businesses, versus like my weakness, Twitter and anything with like writing on a website. Writing is not my area, but there's people in our community who love that. And so I partner with them so they take care of their things and I can help them with my areas of brilliance. And that's how we work.
So there's levels of them. Yeah. So there's levels of involvement, isn't there? There's a money exchange as well as an energy exchange, isn't there? I mean, the basic principle is, if you're going to join this community, you want to be able to share your resources and show up and bring your brilliance to the table and offer it. That's premise number 1. But there's also some financial ask in that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and one of the things that was really important when we were creating this community, and I say we because there were several of us who created it, was one, if somebody was in a financial, we didn't want to come from a place of scarcity, because we believe there's plenty of abundance around. Right. But if somebody was having financial limitations, we weren't going to say, no, you can't join because you don't have the money, because money is not the only way you can show up.
Right.
And so we have some people who they'll do some back end work for me on the website. They'll do some promotion stuff. So we'll trade for that for a membership. Other than that, and I get a lot of slack from my coach about this, because he says my price is way too low. And I'm like, I didn't want to be a financial hardship for people. So maybe that was me on my place of over helping, which is okay. I'm aware of that. Yeah. So what we do is we charge $47 a month, and that's it. We collect no affiliate fees. We'll promote your company. And we also work as like a concierge service. So like you can say, hey, I'm looking for this. And like every day, I probably give about 40 introductions a day. Just the other day, someone else was saying, I I'm going to be doing this summit. I'm looking for speakers. She sent me a message saying, here's what I'm looking for. And by the end of the day, I got her 15 speakers. And that's just what I do. This person over here is looking for places to go do her workshop, but she was trying to find places that will let her do a mini workshop. And I called the other people who are on our leadership team and I said, hey, here's a need from one of our community members. How can we help? And then at the end of the day, I got an email saying, here's 4 locations of people that we know that will let her come in and do a presentation. And that's just the way that we work. We're always looking at how can we help you grow personally, but also your business. And what we do is we do a lot of business matchmaking. You need open doors, you need introduction, do you need an actual infrastructure piece, and how do we bring all those together so you can lift up?
So, I mean, as being a coach for coaches, I can't help but ask, like I'm sure your other coaches have, is that, do you charge for that? I mean, because most of this, Mellissa, is in your head, because you know everybody in the tribe and you know what their strengths and weaknesses. You can't help but know that because that's your passion. So you're the one that is really the linker together of this. So do you charge people for that?
No, that's all part of your $47 a month membership. And what happens is when somebody joins the community, one of the first things that happens is they'll get an email to be set up with what's called a developmental advisor. Yeah. And that advisor is their advocate. And it's people from our community who we've turned around and taken that $47 and we're paying these people and their fellow community members. And it's their job to know the ins and outs of everybody in our community. And so they actually work as who are you? What does your business need? Who can we connect you with? So it's not all coming back to me.
Right.
Because honestly, that's one of my fears is what happens if I get sick again?
Right.
Last year I had spine surgery, this past month, my mom passed away from a spider bite that led to a stroke. So I didn't want the community to disintegrate if something happened to me. So one of the things that we do is each person we actually try to get as connected to as many people as possible. So it's like this giant web.
Yes.
So one piece is gone, you're still connected to the entire community. So if I'm the one who has to step out for some whatever reason, it doesn't all fall apart. You're still supported. So
you have a core group, it sounds like. So how many are in your core group?
There's 15 in the core group.
Very good. I like that. That's a nice group that allows you to then. So do you meet as a core group as well?
We do. The core group meets once a week for the phone. And then what we try to do, and this is actually going to be the first time we're going to do it this year, we're actually going to get together and do a retreat. And one of the things that we want to do when we get together as a retreat is how can we take this vision of working in cooperation and really make sure we're supporting each other. And I also just want to say this core group, one of the things that they do that I really love is they hold me accountable. When I start going off my deep ends, they mirror off to me, hey, Mellissa, you're not delegating enough.
Yeah.
Or you're doing so much, you're not letting us step into it.
Right.
Or your vision of the community is this and ours is this. And I'm oh, wow, I never thought about that. Yeah. So there's a lot of checks and balances and opportunities that's there with that.
Well, that sounds really, really exciting. So how do people get involved with you? How do they join? And tell us more about that part.
Really easy. If you go to brillianceandbusiness.com, there's a quick little video that talks about our community. And then if you're interested, because obviously you're here with us on the show, and I'm a big believer of giving first and then asking afterwards. So there is actually on the menu bar, there's a spot right there that says join us. So click there. And if you're interested in joining us, I'll give you a month free. And then you can come try us out. If we're a good fit, great. No hard feelings if you're not, but I'm a big believer of coming from a place of service. And if so, just go ahead and use the code VIP Access Mellissa. Just make sure when you write Mellissa, you put MELL. I have 2 L's in my name.
Yes.
ISSA. So 2 L's and 2 S's. So if you just put VIP Mellissa, then that will go ahead and give you a month free.
Now I can tell that you have a bigger vision. This is a stepping stone to something greater. So could you tell me what this greater vision is that you're manifesting and allowing to be birthed right now?
It's so interesting that you asked that question because I didn't even think about that until as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, what is my bigger? And as soon as you said that, I noticed my heart go, and I was like, okay, just sit with this for a second. Okay. It's funny, I feel like I'm put on the spot here, but it's all like, well, yeah, it's kind of been in the background. There's a part of me that wants to be a co-creator, and that's the best word I come with, and a catalyst of a movement. And not just any movement, but a movement which is going to really change how people do business. So instead of everybody trying to work alone in their business, we are a collective embodiment, and each of us can be a part of a ripple effect. And it doesn't have to be ego. It doesn't have to be scarcity. It can be cooperation. It could be of love. It could be of service. And there's a balance of taking care of yourself, but also taking care of others, and that sense of responsibility. And I literally woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep, and I went and got the hashtag. And again, remember, I'm not the Twitter person.
Yeah.
And I reserved the hashtag I am the we. And I have this image of creating this video of people from all over the world, a little like headshot. Hi, I'm such and such, and I do whatever your area of brilliance. And, it's a little segment about you. And then it's like hashtag I am the we are Brilliance in Business. And then like the end of all these videos has all these like headshots come together, and you see like this global world of all these people who are like, I'm here to support one another in business and myself, and be a part of a ripple effect of what I do is going to make a difference in other people's lives. And it's not a place from an ego. It's lifting each other up in that ripple of what can happen in humanity. Because who you are, what you're doing, if I am not, or as a community, if we're not introducing you to someone to help you stew your brilliance, then we're actually holding you back from what could be your greatest potential. And so that's where I am the we. It's literally like we are all part of this bigger collectiveness of brilliance and changing humanity. So yeah, that's the deeper busted.
Well, I can assure you we're going to talk more about this because we're on the same page, and I'm very excited that you understand that this huge vision is part of my vision too. So I'm looking forward to further conversations as we move along and manifest that vision right onto the planet. Now's the time. It's just the most exciting time to be on this planet, and the planet's waiting for this vision. So let's get at it. Let's manifest it. So thanks for being on the show. It was a great conversation, and all the best. And everybody out there, don't forget to join Melissa's group. And what is the name of your group one more time?
Brilliance and Business.
Brilliance and Business. Show up. Be brilliant. So thank you, Mellissa.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, everyone.
All right. Bye for now.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.